Okay, hello everybody. We're live on Facebook. I'd like to welcome you to another Kama Ye for Oor Vyce. This is our third now, third or fourth maybe. Lost touch. We've done, but the next scene's enough, especially being the birthday of our national bard, Robbie Burns. So we've got a great selection of talent for you in echt. So I hope you've got a wee dram. You've had your haggis, or maybe you're hearing it just now, and you can sit back and sort of relax for the next hour and a bit, and listen to some of the great poems and songs that we've got. A wee bit of a selection, so you'll hear work for Robbie himself. Well, not himself, but his work, somebody reading his or singing his work. and, or some of the folk here in Echt have got work, original work. It's been inspired by the bard. So a wee bit of a selection for you there. Without further ado, I'm just going to pass over to Peter Chapman, who's got the pleasure of being first in up in Echt. And I think, Peter, you've got Dina toast to the haggis. Is that right?
That is exactly right. I mean, everybody's been at Burns suppers, and I'm sure you all have. The first bit of poetry that you hear at a Burns supper is the address to the haggis, because that takes place early on in the evening. So that's what I'm going to want to do right now. And so here we go. Dear haggis. Oh, I will just say before I set off, I'll just be doing the poem. I haven't got a haggis in front of me to cut up, so I won't be doing the actions, but I will give you the words. So there we go. Fair fire on a sonsy face, great chieftain of the pudding race. Abin them all you take your place, fain stripe or thorn. Weel are you worthy of a grace, as long as my hair. The groaning trencher there you fell, your hurdies like a distant hell. Your pen would help to mend a mill in time of need, while through your pores the dews distill like amber bead. His knife seal rustic labour dicht, and cut you up with ready slack, trenching your gushing entrails bracht like ony ditch. And then, oh, what a glorious sight! Warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stretch and strive, deal like the hinmist on they drive, till all their wheel swelled kites belive are bent like drums. Then all greed man must like to arrive. Bethink it hums. Is there that there is French ragout, or olio with star sou, or fricassee with garlic spew? We perfect scunner looks down with sneer and scorn for view on sick a dinner. Fear devil, see him o'er his trash, as fakeless as a withered rash, his spinel champ a gweed whiplash, his niv a net, through bloody flood and field to dash. Oh, how unfit. But mark the rustic, haggis fade, the trembling earth resounds his tread, clapping his willy never blade, he'll garret whistle, in arms and legs and heeds he'll snade, like daps o' thistle. Ye powers, will mark mankind your care, and set them doing their bill of fare. All Scotland wants nae skinking wear the jaups and luggies. But if you want her great for prayer, gie her a haggis.
Yeah, we applause there. That was great, Peter. I wish I had a haggis now. I could have done the auctions in the background for you. That was brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. So moving on, we've got our resident songstress, Iona. So she's not here in person in Echt, but she has recorded a couple of songs for you. So I'm going to play the first scene. So she's kindly listen to a video, so hopefully this will all work seamlessly. So if I share my screen and move over to here, and I'll just maximizer and press play. So Iona's going to sing to you the Westland Winds.
Westland winds and slaughtering guns bring autumn's pleasant weather. The moorcock springs on roaring wings among the blooming heather. Now waving green light are the glee, delights the weedy farewell, and the moon shines bright as sorrow at night, to muse upon my chamber. The peachick lures the fruitful fells, the plover lures the mountains, the woodcock haunts the lonely dells, the soaring hare the fountains. Through lofty groves the cushat roves, the path o' man shall melt. The hazel bush hangs the thrush, the spreading thorn the linnet. Thus every kind their pleasure find, the savage and the tender. Some social joy and leaks combine, some solitary wonder. Avant away the cruel sweet, tyrannic monster mania. The sportsman's joy, the murdering cry, the fluttering gory pinion. But Peggy dear, the evening's clear, thick flies the skimming swallow. The sky is blue, the fields and view, all fading green and yellow. Come, let us dream her gladsome way, and view the charm of nature. The rustling corn, the fruited thorn, and a happy creature will gently walk and sweetly talk, while the silent moon shines clearly. I'll clasp thy waist and fondly breast, spear who I lure thee dearly. Not fertile showers to button flowers, not autumn to the fair. Say, dear, can be thus to me, my dear, my lovely charmer. That was Westland Winds, that I also liked from Rod Patterson, and it's a wee bit of a different melody that a lot of people know, and I think Rod actually wrote the melody himself, so it's a wee bit different to the Dick Gaughan version or other ones, but yeah, Westland Winds.
Thank you very much, Iona. It's almost like she was here in person. That was a lovely song. So, thank you. So we'll be hearing from Iona just at the end. She'll be back again with another song for us. So we're jumping back to World of Poetry and some Shetland-inspired poetry for yourself, Chris.
Yes, thank you. This is the Fiddler Yow. A fiddler yow took folk amok into hell like a egg yolk. The spiralling staircase reek atil the blistered mouth and cheek. Het laid folk into swamps, like deliveries wi' unken stamps, a the licorice pit bugs, like treacle rung fae dreeping rugs. So the yow that tempted the flock, into the tunnels like patched socks, the places quar Princess Hawk, for gifts tae Goldilocks. Het just started as a joke, as if the sheep gie folk a poke, but then the tune became a croak, the sky was new a muckle cloak. This was the dead end for the clock, villages slocket to nae mair folk, back to just a brunt rocks, earth and ice like bridal frocks. So the scraps hang on loose pegs, like a pirate's wooden leg, that hirpled in scarecrow's chigs, like twar tree shiglin twigs. And Little Red Riding Hood, bouquets of flowers for a wood, that sweated roses as blood, quar the axeman did intrude. Oh, the sorrows cliques, that ken the corners that are wake, for them to just gain and tack, like emptying Santa's sacks. So the folk lured awa, like the compass o a cra, in alliance wi a ma, scored foo dogs could ca. As if the rods were rockly cogs, kerts yocked alang by the frogs, folk shived backwards like some slugs, her dialect words lang lost fae lugs. The burn is a lippern chug, the wind that never does clag, poor Amos trees branch tails wag, clays are flung like a half-mast flag. Mahogany murret hills, like cages left in witches' wills, their heirs just got bundles o' bills, nae candle tae melt the chill. The only culture was the whales, the wind in the ravelled sails. They followed the sorrow's tale, a prison ship steered in gills. And sank into the mist vills, lairds ferreted as rusty nails, by button banes new felled and frail, wi' ribboned tatties, neeps and kill. Lightsome customs, sangs and lore, that folk did quil buckling chores, queues o' folk aye at the door, gaffs and sheiksin in a choir. Keps and head squares were costumes, generations perched in rooms, the rigs were aye ride wi a com, pets were stray birds and caddy lambs. Nipping fingers counted gains, the scarred land's tallies o' the strain, their stakes through hearts cast sick pain, nae anchors did return again. Merched off wi' very tight reins, doon the labyrinths o' lanes, once paradise new plucked and plain, passages doon sewer pipes and drains. The lairds tuned into the tears, they heard the parish's pleads and prayers, to be permitted to bide here, atil their roots in chequered squares. Quas names are new script on stones, played hide and seek till they were gone, the plough's nuisance is the bonds, their clumsy cloots and misfit shoon. Grains o' hansels in the tins, obeyed superstitions, ties to frayed traditions, fiddle's slow airs is waders din. Laird sauntered to graves and snore, Ida slammed stone slab cloisters, like a monarch's chambers, kept at arm's length o' paupers. The laird's hand foos a clutch o' gore, so the sheep took hit a hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Great, thanks, Chris. I was just having a wee look to see if I could find any facts that folk might ken about Robbie Burns, but I think most things have kind of been well reported. But the thing I didn't ken was the first Burns supper was held on the 29th of January 1802, and it was held on the 29th in error the club attended it thought that was his birthday. So the following years after that, they rectified that to be the 25th. So there you go. So there's been Burns suppers being held for quite a while. Yeah, so a wee fact. I might as well do some good when I'm sat here. Okay, so thanks, Chris. Brian, it's over to you for Puckle Mayor poems, I think.
Indeed, I have a small puckle. I will not detain you too long. I wanted to start with a poem that I called Branded, and that was let's say it's about the Oor Vyce and the way we speak. And it was inspired by that debacle that happened when the National Trust for Scotland decided that they had the rights to the name Glencoe and wanted to stop somebody producing jackets with that name on the label. So I wrote something called Branded, but it's about how we speak in the end. So here it goes. Branded. The names for far we bade, bottled. Sign they sealed our moos with secrets, made us swear and through our own obedience, felt us to their schemes. Culloden, both sides, clans, brother against brother, some say for honour to win out, otherwise in currents to do the bidding of their betters 500 miles away. The same slee lairds, wrestling for bleedless vantage that would yet see bleed spilt, though nie not their ain. The claith we wore, strip it awa, it was an ill deed, they said, against the king, our distant cousin, a prisoner himself of finery and high position. Gweed, they dealt with, was we him and nae us. Bodoon, kneel, they said, gwa him and hearst your scrimpet, fruitless craps. Glencoe, hame o' black treachery, for wanting knee into the lairds, for a token of obeisance, deceit and death fell on the sackless, and them our thran to stoop. Our vera tongues, our words on them, cut out so we would be dumped, and could say scry the names of footsteps scrieved in the despair of our retreating. Bannockburn. Armies in a field of bleed, a nation eens meer risen. It's Doonhudden, the vexatious channer of the faith, and the line stood for a time unbroken. Nae matter the intent to hammer descent into the strewn ground like a roasted fowl. Oor Fendon was twined into gallus sweetness, and they count us with history, though we were laid low by feuds and brangles, like mean and vicious fields, like savages. For all that we put a different honour on't, with grunaneth to stand on or lay ourselves in, living or deed. And now, the libel steals the word. Our names are tongue-tacket, never to be said nor seen without consent. And though the reed stain is bleed nae mair, but a scrawl o' ink or a legal page, consent isna asked. Nae for the yard itself, nor for the folk upon't, but only for them, fas lairdship compels our silence yet. So, having had a wee rant, this next in is a poem that was a bit more inspired by Robbie himself, although it does bear the title Third, which I feel like has got something to do with our present state of nationhood. But I'll say no more on that. But here is Third. Vocht and selt. Aye, nowhere telt, to had our tongues, to bide tongue-tacket, and neg and gabbing on about fits water underneath the brig. The past is but the past, they say. And yet here's us new, for now's the hour, and we feel the heat to ill-set coarseness lure. This is what it feels like on this shore, or this hill, or ben, or in the next, or down the glen, or Narrowstrath, or Pluin Sea, or Grun, or in some Keren gear, or with hands and harns big in the Morris Hullion, for empty foons. Well, Rabbi in his nation was nae different than Leal, expecting honour in return. Scant favour came out, and now, still mair, ken your pert, had your wished, be thankful for small mercy, our wee, our peer, our gomless, sick bile comes teeming down like blood and rain. And we are just the leavings of a shilping nationhead, just the servile orals of a folk nae more required and less respected. There's nae a word for or name that I'm unspec for a commonality of folk to come down on others as like we were to gowks and coofs. We were all meant to be the same, equals, men and women, Jack Thompson's bairns, for that, abody hewing through together. Burns on rank and privilege was richten out. The face on the bar being but a face, and the coin itself the thing of worth. But we are lang selt as Highlands, for siller in the pooches or curn lairds. Third before we had put up a word on, nor took sich to the vocable or seal that by obligement sealed were fate. I think that was about a rant and a half. But finally, I will read you 35 seconds. That's it. I will detain you no longer. But I want to read this because it's about full respect. And in 2016, I read some chiel. It said, Scots language, I'm glad my bairns isn't his. I didn't want my bairns to hate to learn it. Now, he didn't say it in Scots for obvious reasons, because he didn't think it was a language worth speaking. And he said, the poetry of T.S. Eliot has got far greater capability and emotional depth than anything that could be written in Scots. And I thought, we'll just see about that. So I wrote a reimagining in Scots of the Wasteland. And I will give you a wee bit that he called Death by Water. I call it Deed Water. And it's just brief, but I think it's this speak in Scots, and I hope Gilly Vor, a sea dog, 12 weeks deed, wasna mind in the scrach of gulls and the heave of the deep, nor profit nor loss. The doon drag neth the fame, chad his banes clean, and he rose and he fell past all his ages and his growing as he squealed through Corrie Vrecken. Billy or Tim, ye ca the wheel and see fit why the wind blaws. Think on Gillymore, eens bra and as stretched as thee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. That was a great rants. I loved it. It's a good to hear, and some awful good pints made there, and yes, it certainly touched on a nerve. I think with myself, a nerve, maybe that's the wrong word, but in terms of what folk say about Scots sometimes, and it is such a rich lead, and for myself, I've never been more prouder than I'm now of being a Scots speaker. And I've been doing in Edinburgh for a good puckle year now, but I've never forgotten my mother tongue, really. And kind of learned, well, both my bairns are Edinburghers really now, but they both understand the Doric or Scots really well. My daughter actually came back from school, they'd be doing it in English, and she says, God, your Scots has come in handy, because I was able to answer everything in the class today, and I was like, oh well, imparted some knowledge to you, but aye, it does feel as a real renaissance in the lead now, and hopefully with all the great work it's going on out there, not just fit Weedy and Oor Vyce, but it goes much wider to fit our unions are doing here tonight, and out to other activists out there. There does feel that finally we might get some far that we can get a kind of more official recognition of the lead. So it's great. Thanks Brian, for that. So we're going to move on to some songs now for yourself, Pauline. So I'll pass over to you.
Okay, first one I'm going to sing is one that I just learned this last year. I don't know where this song has been all my life. I'm going to sing the song that Burns dedicated to his long-suffering wife, Jean, of all the Earths. Talking of finding things out, I didn't realise that she outlived him by about, was it 37 years or something? I didn't know that again till last year. She was some woman, I think. And I think she was quite a musician from what I gather. I think he picked up a lot of tunes from her. But anyway, the least he could do was write her a song. So, of all the Earths. Of all the earths the wind can blow, I dearly love the west, for it's there the bonny lassie lives, the lass I love the best. There wild woods grow and rivers roll, and mony a hill between. By day and night my fancy's flight is ever with my Jean. I see her in the dewy flowers, I see her sweet and fair, I hear her in the tuneful birds, I hear her charm the air. There's not a bonny flower that springs by fountain, shaw or green. There's not a bonny bird that sings but minds me, oh my Jean. Of all the earths the wind can blow, I dearly love the west, for it's there the bonny lassie lives, the lass I love the best. There wild woods grow and rivers roll, and mony a hill between. By day and night my fancy's flight is ever with my Jean. I see her in the dewy flowers, I see her sweet and fair, I hear her in the tuneful birds, I hear her charm the air. There's not a bonny flower that springs by fountain, shaw or green. There's not a bonny bird that sings but minds me, oh my Jean. There's not a bonny flower that springs by fountain, shaw or green. There's not a bonny bird that sings but minds me, oh my Jean.
Beautiful song, Pauline. Thank you.
Gorgeous song, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Rapidly become one of my favourite. Mind you, every time I sing one of his songs, it just becomes my favourite. But that has become my favourite of the year.
Uh-huh.
So the other one I'm going to do is well, they all could have been written yesterday. I think that's the amazing thing about his songs and poems. This one particularly, I'm going to sing A Man's a Man, because I just think it's incredible. I mean, written so long ago and yet is relevant today. For Burns aficionados, you'll notice I do miss a verse out. The reason being, when I first learned it, I felt 5 verses were a bit much to learn. So before anybody pulls me up, there is a verse missing. Sorry, but that's just the way it goes. So, A Man's a Man, here we go. Is there for honest poverty that hangs his head and all that? The coward slave, we pass him by, we dare be poor for all that, for all that and all that, our toils obscure and all that. The rank is bad, the guinea's stamp, the man's the gowd for all that. What though on Hamley fair we dine, wear hard and grey and all that. He fools their silks and knaves their wine, a man's a man for all that, for all that and all that. Their tinsel show and all that. An honest man, though e'er say poor, is king o' men for all that. You see yon Berkey called a lord, that struts and stares and all that. Though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a coof for all that, for all that and all that. His ribbon star and all that. The man o' independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. For all that and all that, his ribbon star and all that. The man o' independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. Then let us pray that come it may, as come it will, for all that, that sense and worth o'er all the earth shall bear the gree for all that, for all that and all that. It's coming yet for all that, that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for all that, for all that and all that. It's coming yet for all that, that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for all that, shall brothers be for all that.
That was great, Pauline. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on. Thank you.
Oh no, you're very welcome. Yeah, and we'll be new that we came for you are. I've got your email address, so I'll be annoying you again for sure. But what you were saying there, I mean, it is amazing that something that was written so long ago still resonates through the day. It's very, very true words. And he was a young man from he did, you know. I mean, he was 37. And I believe he had about £1 to his name from he did. So I mean, if he could see how he's got to the day and the impact he's made, not just in Scotland but worldwide, is is phenomenal. But I think his wife did deserve to have a bonny song written for her. I think she'd put up with a fair lot in their time. He did like his women, I think. Okay, thanks, Pauline. Okay, so for those of you that are watching these before, we've got need to big you up or anything, Neil, but we've got Neil joining us for Israel, and he's like a resident Scots learner. How long have you been learning Scots for now, Neil?
I didn't ken. I started on and off. I didn't ken phone exactly. But
yeah.
When I can a day read a bit on Reddit on Mac fourt, a bit of Burns, I know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great inspiration for like anybody really, that Scots isn't just for us native speakers. It's you can learn it just like any other language, and I think it's true to say it's brilliant for us to hear somebody that's passionate about our lead and wants to learn it, and so that's great. So I'll stop wittering on, and I'll hand over to you. You've written a wee poem for an
I scrive a wee poem. I'm not wanting to monopolize the time. It was inspired by a mouse, to a haggis, to other poems like that by Burns, and by for I'm lucky to bide in a peaceful part of troubled region of the world. It's titled Te a Bonobo, because bonobos are puckle peaceful. They're quite peaceful, but they have a way to achieve that peace that we humans can't. So without further ado, I'll start reading now. Thou leaf and guy-queer brother bairn, what donders loun with truthline bear, a rechtvel dint. Naes truth a moorings, nary an oor, for anybody anywhere, we buckled in. For our kind, ye appear fair seek, and yet with you 'tis simply sick. Say obvious. To trowling's heed mak love no year, to make your anger disappear, but no yes. I'm not a prude and not a bigot, but where poor sales were just no bigot, sick peace to make. With family and with bears and all, with their mind would snail screech no, and ficklings brack. Heck aye, it seems my leaf blind monkey, capacity for lad is bunket by human sense. Enablings een could thus believe we're doomed to make weir no live on scales immense. We tool ye, mittel, ravish fell, we big we're heaven and we're hell, a cause we're mind. For better or for worse is built, sick worky, pinsful to the hilt, better is and wind. Where sense commands a path to folly, through brilliance and through ugsome folly, through money doors. Ablins at lang and last will cease and find our way to make us peace, a peace like yours. Thanks.
Thank you, Neil.
It was the first time I scrived something that wasn't muckle personal. The last 2 times I was near to greeting, but now it's a wee bit lichter.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us, and look forward to your next performance. And I think you're on to a roll now. Okay, so we're sticking to the poems for now, and over to yourself, Sheila. You're next on the hit list, and congratulations on your recent competition you won as well. I think you're going to read that in a night, are you?
I'll read that in. That I was joint first equal in the Macash Scots language competition. It's held every year, the Herald newspaper, but it's really a prize from the University of Glasgow. Somebody left a legacy to fund this competition in Scots. So I'll read that wee poem too.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you. Thanks very much. First, I'm going to read a Burns poem, and it's his welcome to his love-begotten daughter. And I picked this because sometimes Burns wasn't always kind to the lassies that he dealt with, or who even had bairns to him. But this is a beautiful, tender, sweet poem, a welcome to his daughter, and it's funny as well. I like it. This baby was born to Elizabeth Peyton, and she and Rab had to appear in front of the Kirk session, and you'll be very, very sorry, and well, they exposed in that way, kind of acknowledged their sin of fornication and all that. So he then, when she had his baby, it's not that long actually before he got together with Jean, but this wee girl was brought up by Burns's mother, and she was also called Elizabeth Burns, and she was brought up by Burns. She lived at Mossgiel, and I think died fairly young. Anyway, a poet's welcome to his love-begotten daughter. Thou's welcome, Wayne. Me shan't our fammy if thoughts of thee, or yet thy mammy, shall ever daunten me or awe me, my sweet wee lady, or if I blush when thou shalt ca me tighter or daddy. What though they ca me fornicator and tease my name and kintry clatter, the mair they talk, I'm kint the better. Even let them clash, and all wife's tongues a feckless matter to gie a fash. Welcome, my bonny, sweet wee dochter. Though ye come here a wee unsought for, and though you're coming I hae fought for, baith kirk and choir, yet by my faith you're no unrocht for, that I shall swear. Sweet fruit a mony a merry dint, my funny toil is no a tint, though thou come to the world a sklint, which fools may scoff at, in my last plaque, thy parts beint the better half o't. Though I should be the war bestead, thou's be as bra and beanly clad, and thy young years as nicely bred wi' education as ony brat a wedlock's bed, and a' thy station. Wee image o' my bonny Betty, a fatherly kiss and doch thee as dear and near my heart, I set thee wi' as good will as a' the priests had seen me get thee that's out o' hell. Good grant that thou may aye inherit thy mother's looks and graceful merit, and thy poor worthless daddy's spirit without his failings. 'Twill please me mair to see thee heir it than stock at Malins. And if thou be what I would hae thee, and tak the counsel I shall gie thee, I'll never rue my trouble with thee, the cost nor shame o't, but be a loving father to thee, and brag the name o't. And my second poem is one of my own. It's to do with a superstition about the first new moon of January, the first new moon of January. My family were strong, well, the women of my family were strong on superstition. And I think this particular superstition is probably to do with ancient wisdom. It's probably well rooted hundreds of years ago in things that we don't really understand now. And because Burns's poetry is so often full of superstition and moons, I thought this would be a nice one to read. First moon of Januar. My mother and her sisters held to the all-wise. Never look at the first moon of the year a hint glass. You mun be outside under the lift, bow and turn round 3 times, siller in your hand. Gin you'd the mischancy to see it first through a window, even more need to get stretched outside, siller in your hand, bow, and maybe an extra turn or twa. Mony's the necht, on my way home for the squeal, I'd be standing at the bus stop, look up, and there should be that pale hope hanging brecht in the caul northern lift. And I'd fummel for a coin, or gin I'd a ring or a chain, as long as it was pure siller, to mark my bow and turn, pitting on to the bus queue that I'd heitered, or was teen on with some frippery in the shop window. That was sick a long, long time ago. But the other night, I watched my own son take his son in his arms, as they do every night, see moon dada. So outside we are stepped into gillet dark January air, squally clouds. Yet there she was, brecht horns curving round the lift, like the I was doing. And I hear myself out loud, I'm recht glad we're nae seeing the first moon of the year, this January moon through glass. And I'll finish with, oh, thank you. I'll finish with this wee poem. It was written on the theme of if you could waken up the next morn and mark the world whatever you wanted it to be, then how would the world be? And it seems to me it follows on nicely for a man's a man for a' that. I hope Burns would like the theme, the feeling of this poem. This morn, the pink gowd of dawn sklaket athwart the lift, starnies awa, mean gisn't, thing spleet new. The world trembles, ready to take a breath, to be whatever we make it. Dinna be sweer, dinna be feared, to make love your choice the day. There's nothing else for it. Love in another, love in another. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheila. Beautiful poems as ever. I love listening to your work.
Thank you.
And I'm sure Burns would have thoroughly approved of it. So I'll speak for him. Okay, thank you. So we're back to yourself, Peter. You've got another wee bit for us tonight.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to do a couple of songs Burns songs. Love songs, really. I mean, he was the absolute master of writing love songs. And you could easily argue that some of the best love songs ever written were written by Burns. And there's one that I particularly like. It's a lot of folk thought that Burns didn't really appreciate a long-term relationship. I mean, obviously he was a womanizer and we can that, but he did understand the value of a long-term relationship. And he shows that in this song here. It's John Anderson, My Joe. It's only 12 verses, but it absolutely encapsulates the joy of a relationship that lasts for 30, 40, 50 years. And this couple are still very much in love after all that time. John Anderson, my Joe, John, when we were first acquaint, your locks were like the raven, your bonny brow was brent. But now your brow is bald, John, your locks are like the snow, but blessings on your frosty pow, John Anderson, my Joe. John Anderson, my Joe, John, we climb the hills together, and money's a canty day, John, we've hen, we een another. Now we man totter down, John, and hand in hand we'll go, and sleep together at the fete, John Anderson, my Joe. And I think that's a great wee song, that. And as I say, it shows that Burns, he wrote that when he was only 26. He really understood the value of a relationship that would last for your whole lifetime. And he shows it very well in that song there. The other thing I'm going to do a bit of is one of the great love songs of Burns is A Fond Kiss. I'm not going to do all the verses, but I'll do verse 10, the 13, and the 4th and the 15 maybe. So, A Fond Kiss. A fond kiss and then we sever, a farewell and then forever. Deep in heart-wrung tears I'll pledge thee, warring sighs and groans I'll wage thee. I'll ne'er blame my partial fancy, nothing could resist my Nancy, but to see her was to love her, love but her, and love forever. Had we never loved so kindly, had we never loved so blindly, never met or never parted, we had ne'er been broken hearted. Fare thee well, thou first and fairest, fare thee well, thou best and dearest, thine be our joy and pleasure, peace, enjoyment, love and pleasure. A fond kiss and then we sever, a farewell, alas, forever. Deep in heart-wrung tears I'll pledge thee, warring sighs and groans I'll wage thee. That's it.
Thank you, Peter. Just said that was great. It does make you think through it's amazing how much he did fit in his relatively short life. And to think at 26 he was writing songs like that. I didn't ken exactly if it would have been in my head when I was 26, but as much
it just shows the brilliance of the man. As you say, the amount of stuff that he wrote. He wrote about 300 songs in his lifetime, and he was only, as you say, 37 when he died.
Mm-hmm.
Just think what he could have done if he was another 30 years ahead of him.
I can.
Absolutely fantastic. I'm a huge fan. I've been a member of our local Burns Club for 40 odd years and chaired it twice and spoken at Burns suppers all over the place. And I never failed to be amazed by the quality of his work. He's an absolute master. Anyway, enough for me.
Yes, that. Thank you very much, Peter. Appreciate that. Okay, and we're going to move on to yourself, Nee. And a favourite of mine, actually, and I think if I'm right, you're going to do Tam O'Shanter. Hopefully I made that up, but that was my first sort of experience, well, the first memory I have at Burns' work was at a school, and it really captured my imagination.
Yeah, mine too. Are you hearing me?
Yep, can hear you fine. Hi.
It was at primary school. We had painting Meg leaping over the brig, painted on the dining room, big mural on the dining hall, and it was that inspired me to Tam O'Shanter. I'll do Tam O'Shanter. When Chapman billies leave the street and truthy neighbours meet, when folk begin to tack the gate as market days are wearing late, we sit boozing at the nappy, getting foo and unco happy. We think on the long Scots miles of mosses, water, slaps and stiles that lie between us and our hame, where sits your sulky, sullen dame, gathering her brows like a gathering storm, and nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth found honest Tam O'Shanter, a he frae air in nichted canter. All there, whene'er a tune surpasses for honest men and bonny lasses. Tam, had thou but been so wise, and ta'en thy good wife Kate's advice, she taught thee well. Thou was a skellum, a blethering, blustering, drunken blellum, that frae November till October, in market nicht thou was nae sober. That ilka milder with a miller, thou sat as long as thou had siller. Ilka nag was taught to shoe on, the smith in thee got roaring, foo on. And at the laird's house, e'en on Sunday, thou drank wi' Kirk and Jean till Monday. She prophesied that late or soon thou wouldst be found deep drowned in Doon, or catched by warlocks in the murk, by Alloway's old haunted kirk. Gentle dames, it gars me greet to think how mony counsels sweet, how mony lengthened sage advices the husband for the wife despises. But to our tale, in market nicht, Tam had got planted Uncle Rift, fast by an angle blazing finely, were reaming swats that drank divinely. And at his elbow, Suitor Johnny, his ancient trusted drouthy crony. Tam looked him like a very brother. They had been foo for weeks together. The night drave on with songs and clatter, and aye the ale was growing better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with favours, secret, sweet and precious. Suitor Todd his queerest stories, the landlady's laugh was ready chorus. The storm outside might rail and rustle, but Tam he didn't care a whistle. Care mad to see a man so happy, e'en drew himself among the navvy. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious, or all the ills of life victorious. But pleasures are like poppies spread. You clutch the flower, the bloom is shed. or like the snow falls in the river, a moment white, then melts forever, or like the borealis race that flit ere you can point the place, or like the rainbow's lovely form, vanishing amid the storm. Nae man can tether time nor tide, the hour approaches Tam on ride, and in the hour he mounts his beast in, on sic a nicht he tacks a road in, ne'er poor sinner was abroad in. The wind blew as 'twad blawn its last, the rattling shores rose on the blast, the speedy gleams of darkness swallowed, loud, deep and long, the thunder bellowed. That if the child might understand, the deil had business on his hand. Well mounted on his grey mare Meg, a better never lifted leg, Tam skelpit on through dub and mire, despising wind and rain and fire, whilst hadden fast his good blue bonnet, whilst crooning o'er some old Scots sonnet, whilst glowering round with prudent cares, lest bogles catch him unawares. By this time he was across the ford, where in the snow the chapman smoored, and by the birks and meikle stain, where drunken Shirley brak his net bane, and through the winds and by the cairn, where hunters found the murdered bairn, and past the thorn aboon the well, where mother's Mungo's mither, hanged hersel. Before him Doon pours o'er her floods, the Dublin storm roars through the woods, the lightnings flash frae pole to pole, near him on near the thunders roll, when glimmering through the groaning trees, Carcalloway seemed in a blaze. To Wilcabore the gleams are glancing, and loud resounded mirth and dancing. Inspiring bold John Barleycorn, what dangers thou canst smack us scorn. We tip nae ale, we'll fear no eel. We Ushkabay, we'll face the deal. The swat sail reamed in Tammy's noddle. Fair play, he caredna deals a bottle. But Maggie stood richt, fair astonished, until by hand and heel admonished, she ventured forth into the light. And wow, Tam saw an unco sight. Witches and warlocks in a dance, nay, cotillon blent, new frae France, but hornpipes, jigs, spaes and reels, but life and metal in their heels. At Winnet Bunker in the east, there sat old Mick, in shape of beast. A towsy tyke, black, grim and large, to gie the music was his charge. He screwed the pipes and got them skirl till roof and rafters a' did dirl. The coffins stood round like open presses, and shod the deed in their last dresses. And by some deilish cantrip slight, each in his cold hand held a light, by which heroic Tam was able to note upon the haly table a murderer's banes and gibbet airns. We twas fan long unchristened bairns. A thief new cutted fair rape, with his last gasp his gab did gape. 5 tomahawks were murder crusted, 5 scimitars with blood red rusted, a garter which a babe had strangled, a knife a father's throat had mangled, by his ain son all life bereft, the grey hair still sticking to the heft. Twa lawyers' tongues turned inside out, seemed black with lees like a beggar's clout. Foul priest's hearts, black as muck, lay stinking vile in every nook, and more all horrible and awful, which e'en to name would be unlawful. I'll catch you up in a minute. Bear with me. As Tammy gazed, amazed and curious, the mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The piper loud and louder blew, the dancers quick and quicker flew. They reeled, they set, they crossed, they cleek it, till ilka carlin swat and reek it, and coosed their tutties in the work, and link it at it in her sark. Ah, Tam, and they been queens, all plump and strapping in their teens. They breeks of mine, my only pair, that ain't squirt plush or good blue hair. I would have keep them off my hearties, for just een glimpse of the bonny birdies. But with her bedlams hulled and droll, rig-woody hags would spawn a foal, louping and flinging on a crummock. I wonder didn't it turn my stomach. But Tam, kent it was fit for brawly. There was een winsome wench in Wally, that nicht enlisted in the corps long after Kent on Carrick shore. For mony's a beast to dead she shot, and perished mony's a bonny boat, and shook baith meikle corn and beer, and kept the countryside in fear. Her cutty sark o' paisley horn, while a lassie she had worn, in longitude now sorely scanty, it was her best, and she was wanty. Ah, little kent her reverend granny, the sark she coughed for her wee nanny, with £12 Scots, 'twas all her riches, would ever grace a dance of witches. But here my muse, her wingmon cower, flights are far beyond her power, to sing how nanny lap and flang, a supple jade she was and strong. And Tammy gazed like een bewitched, and thought as me very een enriched. Een Satan glowered and fidgeted fu fain, and hocht and blew wi' might and main, till first een caper, sin another, Tam tint his reason altogether, and cried out, "Well done, cutty sark!" And in an instant all was dark, and scarcely had Maggie rallied, when out the hellish legion sallied. As bees bizz out with angry fight, when plundering herds assail their bike, or open pussy's mortal foes, when pop she starts before their nose, or eager rins the market crowd, when catch the thief resounds aloud. Say Maggie rins, the witches follow, with money and eldritch screech and hollow. Ah, Tam, thou'll get thy faring, in hell they'll roast you like a herring. But do thy speed the utmost, Meg, and win the keystane o' the brig. There at them now thy tail may toss, a running stream they darena cross. But ere the keystane she can make, a fiend the tail she had to shake, for Nanny, far before the rest, hard on noble Maggie pressed, and flew at Tam with furious ettle. But scarcely was she Maggie's metal. Een spring broke off her maester hail, but left to hint her angry tail. The carlin caught her by the rump, and left poor Maggie scarce a stump. Now, father's tale of truth shall read, ilk man and mother's son tak heed. Whene'er to drink you are inclined, or cutty sarks run in your mind, think you may buy the joys of life or dear. Remember Tam O'Shanter's mare.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. That was brilliant. I really didn't tire of hearing that story. And so just following up from when I was saying how it was the Burns story, it really inspired me when I was wee. The farm that we grew up in aside Riney, up in Aberdeenshire, there was a wee ruined kirk, St Mary's Kirk at Achendoor, just up the road, and I used to go up into the old graveyard and peer in through the windows into the old kirk and imagine that there would be like witches and stuff there, but I never did see them, but I used to think that when I went up there. But that was brilliant. Well done for mine and all that. That's quite a feat. So
Sorry,
oh, that was brilliant. No, thank you. Okay, so we're back to Phil and some trying to do modern technology here. So we're back to video. So gave the Ionism went all right. I'm kind of a bit more hopeful at this scene. So we've got another poem. on similar themes to fit you were saying, Brian, on the Scots lead and the inspiration of Burns and the legacy and that. So we've got a chap, Louis Watson for Elgin. He's recorded a wee bit for us. So I'm going to share my screen. So if you just give me a second. We had not much whiskey yet, so I should be all right. This should just magically happen. So I'm just going to maximize screen and press play.
This wind can touch.
Yeah. I'm sure it's very good.
We can't hear.
Yints were cleared, I wrapped my mouth around my words. Because folk can take a lot.
I'll just stop there. When I muted, could you hear anything?
I could, right now, the new, I could hear it.
Okay. I'm going to start again then. So I apologize there. I knew the technology would be my undoing. So I thought by muting it would just cut me, but I've cut the whole sound on together. So I'll start again. So sorry about that, Louis. But we'll let you get your full spiel in. Here we go.
This wind can take your breath away or carry it round the globe and back again to find its home in your heart, in your soul, for the highlands to the lowlands and away in atween, to the dreich clouds that had the rain that falls to make our tap water, our council juice, our finest fuel for the words that get you tell off at school. Because while I've a tongue in my heat, I'll speak the Scots lead. I've got farmers' hands that have missed their native lands, tried to make them fit somewhere that wasn't wrecked. So I hid them away, plunged them deep into pockets, cowering away like a certain timorous wee beastie. And even though I'd moved my hussy to an unfamiliar soil, apologised for the words in my soul, been told my homeland is a joke, a drain on an empirical dole, I always kenned that it was home and they were wrong. And even though the lands were distant, I could hear the vibrancy of home, in the beating of my heart, in the longing of my soul. So as I stood some far, far for home, far for the lands that yints were cleared, I wrapped my mouth around my words. Because folk can take a lot, but folk canna take those. Our words that aren't just for postcards or Visit Scotland adverts and piecemeal road signs. It's about time we start to realise that we didn't need to dilute our drams, our dreams, or our lead. And it's never been about size. So if we dig our boots in and keep our wits about us, leave the rest to sit and discuss what it is or is not. Fuzz it up to deem what can clearly be seen or heard. Let those that cannot conceive or winna believe scunner themselves over what we came to be true. Try and clean a guddle of their own design, a sorter that they can sort themselves. And aye, there might nae be any gods and there's precious few heroes, but we can keep our message clear and use that wind to send it far and wide and show Abdi that Scots is for life, nae just for Burns.
Some very true words there, and I couldn't have disagree with that at all. So we should be proud of our lead and use it Elkie Day, not just on the 25th of January. So it's great to come together like us and celebrate Burns, but let's keep it going through a whole year and celebrate our Scots lead. So apologise for the technical hitch here. Can I just check before we move on? When I played Iona's first bit at the start, was Abdi able to hear that okay? Aye. So it must have just been me, and I must have got a bit carried away with the Jura malt along the way. Okay, so we're coming to the Hinnerine of the Nacht. And we've got another Oor Vyce here with us, Jack. In fact, it wasn't for Jack. I don't want to big you up either, but it wasn't for yourself. Wouldn't really be here as Oor Vyce. It'd be something else. So Jack was the guy, the real inspiration of him setting up Oor Vyce, and I think this is your second event tonight, is it, Jack?
Oh, it's my first actually.
Oh, is it? Well, you need
This is my debut.
Oh, for the
Kamayi, aye.
but you had Burns.
Oh, it's my second for the night. Aye.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Sorry.
Yeah, I do want to say sorry that I was late on, and I'm very sorry to have missed some of yous. But I'm really looking forward to catching up on the YouTube channel, which I believe this will be posted to afterwards. So I'm excited to see what I've missed, and it's a right honour being in amongst you all, because there's some broad talent here. Now, as Phil was bigging up my ego, I'll say I can put together a campaign, but I might not be able to put together a poem. But I've given it a wee try, and I'm going to start you off with a poem in Scots that I've written, and then I'll move on to a couple of wee sangs. So the first poem, or the only poem, it's called Sign, and it's about that feeling that you might get in the kind of gloaming in the dusk, when everything's a kind of half world. You can just about make things out, but you can't really. And it to me invokes a feeling of time being timeless. You kind of feel like in that kind of half world, in that half dark, you feel more in touch with the past, and that there's this continuity, and this poem Sign is about that feeling. As the smothered Ingles heat remains, dissipating gas they lang gain flames, the nicht claims scraps a daylicht as its ain, and cries it gloaming. Whiles a hunter hoodies hoach convene, ilky beaks clack like a fallen stain, but the hail, the cascadiness scree, to ain, gravel scarting the mark. Een and Sewell adjust, yin to new mark, tither to auld minings, the days dowie dawn, lang sign. And though the thread that rins fae new to then is lang, it's braid, and it taks mair nor this to sever. So that's my first wee foray into poetry, and I'll be moving on to a couple of sangs. And seeing it's Burns night, I thought I'd start with a sang that is Burns adjacent, but it isn't a Burns song itself. It's a sang that Burns cried the best Scotch song ever Scotland saw. A great bit of alliteration there. And it's by the Reverend John Skinner, and it's Tulloch Gorham. Now, any fiddlers in the room will ken Tulloch Gorham as a fantastic piece of music for the fiddle, but fewer ken that there's words put to it by the Reverend John Skinner. And the story behind it is that he was visiting some laird's house, and the lady, after dinner, was guy offended by a bunch of Whigs and Tories having a big muckle argument after tea, probably fairly lubricated with a dram or two. And she said, John, gi's a sang, on, break up all this stramash. And he expressed surprise that the old Strathspey, the real Tullochgorum, had no appropriate words to it. And so he put this together on the spot. And this is what I'm going to give you. Come, ge's a sang, Montgomery cried, and lay your disputes all aside. Nonsense is for folks to chide for what's been done afore them. Whaggin to hurry, I'll agree. Whaggin to hurry, whaggin to hurry, whaggin to hurry, I'll agree. To drap that white McMorrum. Whaggin to hurry, I'll agree. To spend the night with mirth and glee and cheerful sing along with me, the real Tullochgorum. Nu Tullochgorum's mad like the guards I saw an Indian height on me, something keeps of spite and conscience I abhor him. Blithe and merry Weesby, ah, blithe and merry, blithe and merry, blithe and merry Weesby, ah, they mak a cheerful quorum. Blithe and merry Weesby, ah, as long as we hear a pretty draw and dance till we be like the fa, the real Tullochgorum. New worldly worms and minds oppressed with fears of want and double cess, sullen suss themselves the stress with keeping up decorum. So we say sour and sulky set, sour and sulky, sour and sulky, sour and sulky shall we set with the like all philosophorum. So we say sour and sulky set with neither sense nor mirth nor wit nor can arise to shake a fat to the real Tullochgorum. And Burns loved that song and considered it the best of them all. So I had to give him that on his birthday again. Now, as I say, it was an example of putting words to a fiddle song, and putting words to fiddle and pipe music takes me to the next set of songs that I'm going to give you. It's something I think is kind of criminally unkent in Scots musical culture. Now, we ken a lot about Puirst a Buell, the Gaelic tradition, putting Gaelic words to reels and strathspeys and jigs, and performing them with any instruments, but kind of mimicking the sounds using Gaelic language. But there's a Scots tradition of that and all. And we have our own tradition of these kind of musical haverings, because that's essentially what it is. I mean, Puirst a Buell sounds magical to us non-Gaels, but most of the lyrics is just absolute havers. It's nonsense. There's one that I like to sing, which the lyrics are essentially, I saw the kittens, I saw the kittens, I saw the kittens, and the soldiers bun it. It doesn't make any sense. And we do that in Scots and all. Maybe it's just off Scottish folk. We love a good haver. So this Scots tradition, the kind of equivalent of Puirst a Buell, putting nonsense lyrics to pipe and fiddle tunes, it's quite a braid term, kind of muth music, and include kind of diddling, like hiddly diddly dee. You've got the hydrum hodrum, hydrum hodrum, hydrum hairy. So it's a braid term that encompasses all that, and there's plenty with lyrics and all. So what I'm going to give you is some of these kind of mimicking tunes with lyrics in Scots, and they're tunes that you'll often hear on the pipes or the fiddle. And all of these originate in folk. It's a very folk-based tradition. And two of these were collected by Burns himself and credited to him. And you can probably guess what yins they are, considering they're actually the most chauvinistic of the set. So here's my wee set Scots myth music. McAfee turn the Catarun a lock for him. McAfee turn the Catarun a lock for him. McAfee turn the Catarun a lock for him. Here and there and everywhere the gulls are in the core, and the broom coo's got nut the net and the core, and broom coo's got nut the net and the core, and the broom coo's got nut the net and the corn. Guinea this need to da the dale, he to da the more, and black bull is bracking out and bally da the kye. The black bull is bracking out and bally da the kye. The black bull is bracking out and bally da the kye. Guinea does the ball. On the day he'll bowl them by and by. Lang, lang the way to gee, before she got that hireman, nearly tune the tea to play the smith, the gallant fireman, bonny lass come out of the bun for and the laddle dee, a turn and then a son you there and man and Fitzstable Ailsy, lang, lang the way to gee, before she got that hireman, nearly tune the tea to play the smith, the gallant fireman, bonny lass come out of the street for and the feather, oh, you're geet and then a son you there and greet and Fitzstable Ailsy. Oh, I lost my love and I didn't ken who, and I lost my love and I care na. The losing again is again and a twan. I'll send here another se fear na. Lost my love and I didn't ken who, and I lost my love and I care na. The losing again is again and a three, and I'll send here another se fear na. Lost my love and I didn't ken who, and I lost my love and I care na. The losing again is again and a four, and I'll send here another se fear na. Lost my love and I didn't ken who, and I lost my love and I care na. The losing again is again and a five, and I'll send here another say fear na. Fools and never a seen your face, I've been fools and never I can't. Ye fools and never a seen your face, and his money's a shilling a lent. Ye fools and never a seen your face, I've been fools and never I can't. Ye fools and never a seen your face, and his money's a shilling a lent. Ye I wish that never he seen your face, wish that never he can't. Ye wish that never he seen your face, and his money's a shilling a lent. Ye I wish that never he seen your face, and I wish that never he can't. Ye wish that never he seen your face, and his money's a shilling a lent. Ye tail toddle, Tammy gars my tail toddle, button ben a diddle doddle, Tammy gars my tail toddle, Tammy gars my tail toddle, button ben a diddle doddle, Tammy gars my tail toddle. When I'm did a mutating, when I'm sick and full of trouble, when I'm will a strap the button, Tammy gars my tail toddle, Tammy gars my tail toddle, button ben a diddle doddle, Tammy gars my tail toddle, Tammy gars my tail toddle, button ben a diddle doddle, Tammy gars my tail toddle. Gie the lasse feiren lad, gie the lasse feiren, satin else you gie the swally worth the weir, and cowper out among the creels, and ye ten brandy, the mare she bangs unless she squeals. And hey for hoch my gandy, gimme a bruise, gimme a bruise, and butter and gimme a bruise, you stream me wanted a supper, so gimme a bruise, gimme a bruise, and butter and gimme a bruise, you stream me wanted a supper. Jenny sits up in the loft, jockey with Fane, he been at the dark, I'm a wind at the west, made out the wind is the clatter, so gimme a bruise, gimme a bruise, and butter and gimme a bruise, you stream me wanted a supper, so gimme a bruise, gimme a bruise, and butter and gimme a bruise, you stream me wanted a supper, and that was a dainty dish, the goose is Hollywood, and but the syphilid max you flush, and the fun is the finish, and gimme a bruise, gimme a bruise, and butter and gimme a bruise, you stream me wanted a supper, so gimme a bruise, gimme a bruise, and butter and gimme a bruise, you string me wanted a supper. My father sent me to the healthy poo, my many some heather and drive it into your fill, you're welcome to the leather, gimme a bruise, gimme a bruise, and butter and gimme a bruise, you string me wanted a supper, say gimme a bruise, gimme a bruise, and butter and gimme a bruise, you string me wanted a supper. John Hutton, he keeped the tune, and as Kilton is played in his spot and say to man a woman's life, but he declare for a man is a man to his own self. He bocht the fiddle, he bocht the flute, the young is quick, and the other gun to a woman's life. He declare for a peabrach new to his own self. Hydrum hiddly, hydrum do, and a hydrum hiddly, hi man. Hydrum hiddly, hydrum do, and a hiddly diddly, hi man. Hydrum diddly, hydrum do, and a hydrum diddly, hi man. Hydrum hiddly, hydrum do. And a hiddly diddly hi man. Thank you very much.
Oh, Jack, brilliant. Oh, Kent. Well, I didn't. That was brilliant. And I can see your committee meetings are going to tack on a hail new way for it now that I've heard that. It's a grand way to warm us up. Even got the dog kettled up and that. It's interesting there you were saying about the mouth music and similarities between some of the Gaelic culture and Scots culture, because it's a shared Scottish culture, isn't it? And I've been doing a lot of reading recently because I come from sort of West Aberdeenshire and then latterly back Lower Banffshire, for there was quite a recent history of Gaelic there, and you can still really feel it in the names of the firms and that up there. So I mean, as the language just changed and folks started speaking more Scots than Gaelic and that, a lot of those oral traditions would have sort of gone over into that new language. That's really, really interesting to hear, and I could hear a lot of similarities there with some of the Gaelic stuff I've been listening to. So thanks for that, Jack. Okay, so we're really at the Hinnerine, and we've got Iona's last recording she's done. So I'll not hit to mute this time, so you should hopefully hear the halo our song. But Iona's going to finish off with Auld Lang Syne, which is probably the worldwide the best Kinta Burns songs anyway. So I'll just give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. I'll just make it a bit bigger and press play. So over to you, Iona.
That song that you just heard was called Western Winds, and I heard it from
That was the
singing
first
Dick
song.
Dawkin, but I got taught it by Rod Patterson when I was studying at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. I'm going to finish up now with a song that Abdi can join in with. This is the traditional melody that this song was written to. Auld Lang Syne. Should all acquaintance be forgot, and never brought to mind? Should all acquaintance be forgot, so Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my jo, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a couple kindness yet. For Auld Lang Syne, and surely I'll be your pints too, and surely I'll be mine, and we'll take a couple pints yet. For Auld Lang Syne, we twive then up the breeze and put the garlands fine, but we've wandered in money's only fit, so Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my jo, for Auld Lang Syne, and we'll take a couple kinds yet. For Auld Lang Syne, we twain paid out in the burn, the morning sun till die. Mark sees it we the straight road, so Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my jo, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a couple pints yet. For Auld Lang Syne, and here's a hand by trusty fear, and these a hand o' thine, and we'll take it where we want. For Auld Lang Syne, for Auld Lang Syne, my jo, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a couple kinds yet. For Auld Lang Syne.
Thank you very much, Iona. That's a beautiful song. And a lovely melody as well, the original melody, I think, as well. It's a lovely, lovely touch. So that's a very fitting end to what's just been a lovely evening. I've thoroughly enjoyed sitting back here and just listening to all the talent, gotten through maybe about 3 juras, but didn't tell my friends up in Glenlivet that I've gone to the West Coast tonight from a whiskey. But first of all, obviously I have to thank the performers tonight. It's been a great night. There's been some great talent on show for your poems and your songs, and some things I didn't even ken, like Jack's Scott's mouth music there. Shall be annoying him about that going forward. Just for all you listening, if you're interested in getting more involved in the Scots lead, we'll be more than happy to speak to you at Oor Vyce. We've got a busy year ahead of us this year in terms of some of the legislation that we might hope to see start getting worked upon for the Scots lead. But yeah, we can speak more about that later, and we'll be hearing some more sort of round table type events over the year. We'll start delving into some of that in a bit more detail. But for a night, I wish you a happy Burns Nicht. I hope you've managed to have whiskey along the way, and that you've enjoyed. It's been just a grand night. So wish you all well, and look forward to seeing you at our next team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Right evening.
Bye.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Cheerio.
Cheerio, Andy.
Cheerio. Cheerio. Thank you.